Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I have posted in the past. If you have any video you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. If you're cooking fried rice for the first time, or you still have some doubts about the different steps in making a fried rice, this video is designed for you. In this video, I will try to break down each steps in making a good fried rice. If you would like, you can follow along with me in making this fried rice. It is very simple. All you need is some rice, an egg, as well as some frozen vegetable mix. The best rice to make a fried rice is long grain rice, and in this case, I'm going to use some jasmine rice. This rice that has been cooked and has been in the refrigerator for about 3 or 4 days. I'm going to use about 1 cup of cooked rice. Now, the best way to cook fried rice is to break up the rice in advance. Of course, you can break up the rice in the wok as well, but it's much simpler if you break it up, in this case, in a mixing bowl. And I find the way to break up the fried rice is using a tool known as a hamburger meat masher. Now, this is really a nifty tool, and normally people use it to break up the hamburger meat when they make spaghetti sauce or make chili. But for breaking up the fried rice, it's really perfect, and the shape of this masher allows you to separate the rice. Now, breaking up the fried rice is really important, and the reason is that because it will allow the rice to cook more evenly after you break them up, and it also makes the rice cook faster. And if you don't have a hamburger meat masher, alternatively, you can break up the rice using a fork. Now, when you break up the fried rice, you should pay attention to break up each individual kernel as much as possible. And the reason is very simple. It will allow the rice to cook more evenly, and at the same time, it will distribute the flavor in the rice. And more importantly is that because after you break it up, the individual kernel can be fried separately. It will give the kind of crispy texture that we look for in a good fried rice. So taking some extra time to break up the rice is really essential. You can also break up the rice with your hands. In this case, just coat your fingers with some oil to prevent it from sticking to the rice. To cook this fried rice, I'm going to use my Cook standard stainless steel wok, and I'm going to cook it on a gas 1 camping stove. And one question people often ask is that how much should you heat up the wok before you add the cooking oil? And one way to test that is by adding a drop of water. If the water starts to evaporate completely, you know that you are ready to add the cooking oil. Now, heat up the wok actually is really important before you add the cooking oil, because when the wok is heated up, the cooking oil will spread more evenly on the surface of the wok. And there are several advantages. One is that when it's spread evenly, it will actually allow the wok to be seasoned better. And so heating up the wok truly has a distinct advantage. Another important aspect about heating up the wok is that the oil will react with the surface of the wok in such a way will provide a better condition for create a non-stick cook surface. Now, at this point, I have the burner set all the way to high, and this is allowing me to heat up the wok quickly. Now, once the oil starts to smoke, as you can see in here, you should turn the heat off or turn it down because you do not want to create more smoke than it is necessary. But this is the time when the wok is being seasoned to create a non-stick cook surface. And you want to generate as little oil film as possible. I actually turn my burner completely off. I add 1 egg that has beaten up into the wok. Now, the number of eggs that you add to the fried rice is quite variable. An egg is really a valuable addition to the fried rice. First and foremost is that it adds additional nutritional balance to the fried rice. But more importantly is that the egg actually will create contrasting texture with the rice and to create better flavor as well as a greater culinary experience. Now, you notice that the egg do not stick to the surface of the wok at all. Next, I use the wok spatula to scramble the egg. Now, there are many different ways how you cook the egg. it depends on a lot of individual preference because the texture of the egg will blend with the rice in many different ways. For example, if you want the egg relatively soft, and one approach you can take is that you simply remove the egg from the wok and set it aside while you cook the rice. And when you're done with frying the rice, you can incorporate everything back together. Now, in some cases like me, I like the egg to be relatively firm, so I'm going to leave the egg right in the wok. And so this way, the egg will cook a little bit further together with the rice. And next, I add the rice to the wok. Now, this rice has already been broken up. Breaking up the rice actually has a lot of advantage because it allows you to cook it faster. But I think the more important characteristic of this approach is that the rice grains are separate from each other. First of all, it's that it will allow you to cook them much faster. And secondly, is that it will fry individual rice grains separately, and therefore it creates a much better crispy texture. Now, it turned out that for fried rice, probably the most important characteristics that define whether it is a good fried rice or not is the texture of the rice. Most people like the grain of the fried rice to be slightly fried and have that crispy texture, which will combine the softness of the rice in the inside, and that create probably one of the most delightful culinary experience in eating a fried rice. Now, when fried rice are all stuck together, they will not be able to fry properly. And also, it depends on the nature of the rice. When the rice is such as short grain rice, they tend to stuck together, and because they contain more moisture, they will not achieve the type of texture that you are looking for. The rice that I use here is a jasmine rice, which is quite good for making fried rice. However, there are other rice which has even drier texture, such as the basmati rice, which is a very long grain rice. Many people like to use that rice for making fried rice because, again, they tend to separate from each other, and each grain has more individuality as compared to the jasmine rice. But a lot of these are personal preference and depend on what you have available on hand. And the amount of time that you fry the rice depends on how crisp you want the rice to be. And next, I'm going to add some frozen vegetables. Now, the frozen vegetables turn out to be perfect for making fried rice because they are already in the size and shape which will match the grains of the fried rice. And furthermore, a frozen vegetable is always available and they have great nutritional value. In this case, this frozen vegetable contains 4 different kinds of frozen vegetables. That is frozen peas, sweet corn, carrots, and green bean. And since they are already cut to this dimension, they just perfectly match what you want a fried rice to be. Now, I take the frozen vegetable directly from the freezer to add to the wok, and actually turn out really good because you don't have to thaw them out. And in fact, I'm just thawing them directly while I am stirring the rice. Now, the timing for adding the frozen vegetable is quite important because you want the fried rice to fry to the texture that you want, and so it will not be affected by the frozen vegetable. Now, add the frozen vegetable will add moisture to the fried rice. However, if the fried rice already have that crispy texture, it's likely to maintain it. But you can still fry the rice longer if you want the rice to have a more crispy texture. However, this step turned out to be quite important because you do not want to cook it longer than necessary because you do not want to overcook the frozen vegetables. So experimentation is the key. Now, to season the fried rice, I'm going to use my Wok with Tak basic seasoning mix. To enhance the natural flavor of the food ingredients, I have it on Amazon. You can use the link below. You will notice that as soon as you add this seasoning mix, with a quick few stir, you will detect a wonderful aroma. This aroma comes from the minced onion flake, as well as the granulated onion and granulated garlic. All of these 3 seasoning agents will add great aroma to the dish, which would not be possible otherwise. In addition, this seasoning mix contains mushroom seasoning, which will add great umami flavor to the dish. It also contains lemon pepper, cumin powder, and ginger powder to enhance the complexity of the flavor. So in this fried rice, I help you to focus on the texture of the fried rice. as well as some of the basic guidelines of how to heat up the wok, how much oil to use, as long as how long you should fry the rice. And if you follow these steps, I can almost guarantee you that you will come up with an excellent fried rice.